The council chamber was enormous, almost impossibly so, stretching higher than any human city's tallest building. Holographic screens floated in midair, showing worlds and star systems far beyond human reach. Alien delegates filled the seats, their forms strange and varied, some tall and crystalline, others with shimmering skin that changed color with emotion, and a few that looked almost like floating shadows. Every eye in the room was on Earth's representative, a human who had flown across half the galaxy to face the verdict. The air was tense. Every species present had its own reasons for disliking Earth, some rooted in fear, others in envy. Humans were young, unpredictable, and had advanced faster than anyone expected. Their technology, their willingness to explore, and their stubborn refusal to bow to tradition made other civilizations uneasy. Now all of that came to a head. The vote was about to be announced, and whispers filled the chamber like static. "They have grown too fast," one delegate murmured. "We cannot trust them with so much power." Another shook their many heads. "They do not understand the balance of the galaxy. They could destroy us by accident." The human representative remained calm. They were trained for this, prepared for the worst. Yet inside, there was a flicker of unease. This was more than a political debate. This vote could decide the fate of every human on Earth and every human colony in the making. A silence fell as the council president, a being that seemed to shimmer between solid and liquid forms, floated to the center. "Delegates of the council," it began, its voice echoing unnaturally, "the time has come to cast your votes. Shall Earth remain a member of this alliance, or shall it be banished?" Holographic panels lit up, showing votes one by one. Green for stay, red for banish. The first few votes were predictable. Then more red lights appeared, and the green ones dwindled. The tension became unbearable. The human observer could feel the energy in the room shift, like the calm before. A storm. Finally, the last vote was cast. The chamber was silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in murmurs and discussions. Earth had been banished. The verdict was unanimous enough to make it clear. Humanity's time within the council was over. On the human ship orbiting the council's headquarters, the news spread quickly. Earth's leaders gathered around screens, faces pale but composed. They didn't panic. There was no shouting, no blaming. Instead, there was a quiet understanding, a shared resolve. Humans had faced countless crises before, and this was just another challenge. Banishment? One official said, tapping the screen. "They want to push us out because they fear us." "Yes," another replied. "They fear what we are capable of, but we don't need their approval. We've always done things our way." The room was quiet for a moment as everyone absorbed the implications. Without council membership, trade would become difficult. Travel through certain sectors might be restricted. Some colonies would lose protection. But humans had always adapted. They were not a species to sit back and accept defeat quietly. The decision was made almost instantly. Humanity would not wait for permission, for mercy, or for another chance to argue. They would act first. They would withdraw before the council could enforce its banishment. Orders went out to ships, stations, and colonies across human-controlled space. Every vessel prepared for a rapid pullback from council territory. Satellites and communication arrays were secured, and classified technology was packed and moved. Humans worked with efficiency, but there was also an unmistakable pride in their actions. Every step they took was a statement. We are not defeated. We are not afraid. We are still here, and we are still strong. Back on Earth, people watched the news broadcasts, and a mixture of fear and awe spread among the population. Children asked questions, their parents explaining in simple terms what had happened. "The galaxy doesn't want us to be part of them anymore," a teacher said, "but we are still our own people. We can take care of ourselves." Scientists and engineers were energized. Projects that had been restricted under Council rules were suddenly free to advance. Ships that had been designed with compromises to meet alien standards could now be optimized fully for human use. A sense of excitement filled labs and hangars across Earth. Humans were no longer constrained. They could finally pursue their ray. Ambitions without anyone watching over their shoulders. Yet even as humans acted quickly, they did so with thought. Every move was deliberate. There was no chaos, no panic. Their military prepared for possible confrontations, but every plan was defensive, designed to protect rather than to attack. Diplomats drafted messages to nearby civilizations, not begging for help, but informing them that humanity was now independent and capable. Some aliens in the galaxy watched these preparations with disbelief. They had expected chaos, fear, maybe even surrender. Instead, they saw humans moving as one, their efficiency and unity stunning in its simplicity. Even the most skeptical council members began to question whether their decision had been wise. The human representative, after returning from the council chamber, gave a speech to the leaders of Earth. "We were given a choice," they said, "but we will not wait for anyone else to decide our fate. We will act. We will continue to grow. We will continue to explore. We are humanity, and we do not wait to be told twice." Across the galaxy, ships began to move. Colonies that had been cautious now embraced boldness. Trade routes were adjusted, scientific experiments accelerated, and fleets of exploration vessels set out into sectors where humans had not ventured before. For the first time in history, humans were truly free to shape their destiny. And yet, amidst the action, there was a quiet reflection. Leaders and citizens alike understood the gravity of what had happened. The Council's vote was not just a rejection, it was a warning. Humans could not afford complacency. Every decision, every action from now on, would define their place. In the galaxy still, there was no fear, only determination. The human spirit, resilient and inventive, was ready for the challenge. They had faced adversity before, from natural disasters to conflicts among themselves. They had survived famine, war, and disease. Now, they would survive the galaxy's rejection, and in doing so, they would prove something to themselves, and to every alien race watching. Humanity could thrive, even when the universe tried to push them aside. The first step had been taken. Humanity would not grovel. They would not negotiate under pressure, and they certainly would not wait for permission. They would move forward, not just to survive, but to grow, to explore, and to become something no one in the galaxy could ignore. And so, as the last lights of council chambers dimmed and humans prepared for the first stage of their great withdrawal, there was a quiet but unshakable sense of pride. Humanity had been judged and found undesirable by the galaxy's most powerful body. Yet, instead of despair, they responded with action, unity, and courage. For the first time, Earth was completely in control of its own fate. The Council had banished Earth. Humanity didn't wait to be told twice. The moment the Council's vote was announced, the leaders of Earth gathered in the largest command room on the planet. The room was filled with screens showing images of ships, colonies, and trade networks scattered across the stars. Yet, instead of panic or despair, there was a sense of focus, a determination that was almost tangible. Humans had always faced crises, and every crisis had been met with action. This would be no different. A quiet conversation began among the leaders, not about begging or pleading, but about what needed to be done. "They think this will slow us down," one said, eyes scanning the data streams floating in the air. "They think they can control us by banishing us, but they underestimate us." Another nodded. "We've always moved forward when others doubted us. We adapt, we learn, and we survive. Now we need to show them that we are more than just a risk to the galaxy. We are a force of our own. Plans that had been drawn quietly in back rooms for years suddenly became urgent. Every human colony, every exploration vessel, every scientific station would need to operate independently, and they would need to do it quickly. Orders were sent across the communications networks, reaching even the most distant outposts. Humans were asked to prepare for withdrawal from Council-controlled space, to secure resources, and to ready themselves for the unknown. People across Earth felt the tension in different ways. In cities, offices, and homes, citizens watched the news with a mixture of worry and fascination. Children asked questions, adults discussed possibilities, and the general hum of conversation reflected a world standing on the edge of something enormous. No one was afraid exactly, but everyone understood that life, as they knew it was about to change. Engineers and scientists began working around the clock. Projects that had been delayed or restricted under Council rules were suddenly given full attention. Vessels that had been modified to comply with alien safety standards were redesigned to maximize human efficiency. Artificial intelligence systems, space propulsion technologies, and planetary defense grids were all pushed forward as humans prepared for life without outside oversight. At the same time, diplomats were drafting messages to neighboring civilizations. These messages were not pleas for help, but firm statements. Earth would continue its work, would continue to expand, and would do so independently. There was no arrogance, only clarity. Humans were asserting their place in the galaxy without hesitation. In the streets of major cities, people gathered to watch public broadcasts of the events. There were no riots or protests, only a quiet, determined curiosity. Citizens discussed what it meant to be human in a galaxy that had decided to reject them. "We are not weak," a teacher explained to a group of students. "We do not need their permission to grow, to explore, or to make our mark. They have underestimated us, as they always have, and now it is our time to show what we can do." Humanity's military also took action, not in anger, but in preparation. Fleets that had been deployed in various sectors were recalled, reorganized, and fortified. Defensive systems were strengthened, supply chains secured, and communication networks protected. Every officer, every crew member, every soldier knew their role. They understood that the galaxy might test them, but humanity would meet those tests with intelligence, skill, and restraint. Even ordinary citizens played a role. Volunteers worked in spaceports, loading cargo and preparing vessels for departure. Scientists ran simulations to ensure colonies could survive without Council support. Engineers reinforced planetary infrastructure. Every action, no matter how small, contributed to the collective effort. There was a sense of shared purpose, a feeling that humanity was united like never before. As humans prepared to withdraw, they also looked outward. Exploration vessels that had been limited by Council regulations were now free to chart unknown regions. Colonists who had once waited for approvals were now empowered to expand. Technology that had been held back due to bureaucratic restrictions was unleashed. Humanity was not just reacting. It was taking control of its destiny, shaping the future on its own terms. Some alien civilizations watched from afar, uncertain how to respond. They had expected chaos, fear, and hesitation. Instead, they saw humans moving with calm precision, making decisions, and taking action as a unified force. The idea that banishing Earth would weaken humanity was proving to be a serious miscalculation. At the command centers on Earth, leaders discussed the implications of this independence. "We need to make sure that our colonies are fully self-sufficient," one strategist said. "We cannot rely on trade with Council members. We cannot rely on their protection. Every system we control must be able to operate on its own." "Yes," another replied, "but this is also an opportunity. We are no longer bound by their restrictions. We can innovate faster, travel farther, and take risks that were impossible before. We have the chance to grow stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. For many humans, the sudden freedom was exhilarating. Citizens and scientists alike threw themselves into their work with renewed energy. Children in schools learned about humanity's place in the stars, encouraged to dream bigger and bolder than ever before. Engineers raced to complete ships and stations, eager to explore sectors that had previously been off-limits. Yet, even amidst the excitement, there was a quiet recognition of the challenge ahead. Humans understood that the galaxy was vast, and threats could appear anywhere. Isolation meant freedom, yes, but also responsibility. Every decision, every mission, every expansion would now be humanity's own to bear. Despite this, fear was not the dominant emotion. Instead, there was determination. There was pride. There was a deep, almost instinctive confidence that humanity could overcome any obstacle, even without the Council's approval or oversight. Every individual, from the highest-ranking officer to the youngest child, understood their role in highest-ranking officer. To the youngest child, a shared effort. As ships prepared to leave Council space, messages were sent to allies and neighbors. "We are moving independently," one broadcast announced. "We are capable. We are prepared. We will continue to grow, to explore, and to protect ourselves. We do not seek permission. We do not wait for approval. We act now." The first ships departed quietly, slipping through space with the precision and efficiency humans were known for. Colonies began to adjust to life without Council support, relying on human ingenuity and cooperation to maintain order and security. Every system that humans touched became a testament to their adaptability and resilience. In homes, offices, and public spaces, people watched the unfolding events with awe. For the first time, humanity was truly on its own, responsible for its fate in the galaxy. Yet there was no panic, only a sense of pride and determination. Humans had faced crises before, and they had always emerged stronger. This would be no different. Throughout the night, the flow of communication never stopped. Scientists ran tests, engineers monitored systems, and leaders coordinated strategy. Humans were awake, alert, and active. Every action was deliberate, every decision made with care. There was no chaos, no confusion. Humanity was moving forward with purpose, showing the galaxy that they were not afraid of independence. They were ready for it. By the end of the first cycle of operations, the results were clear. Humans had moved faster, more efficiently, and with greater unity than any Council member could have predicted. Colonies were secure, ships were operational, and the planet itself was prepared for a future without outside oversight. The galaxy had tried to sideline Earth, but humans had turned banishment into an opportunity. Leaders gathered once more to review progress. "We have done more in a day than many expected," one said. "The Council may have thought this would weaken U.S., but it has only made us stronger. We are united, prepared, and capable of anything we choose to do." The sentiment was echoed across Earth. Citizens understood that while the galaxy might have rejected them, they were still resilient, still resourceful, and still determined to thrive. For the first time in generations, humans were not limited by anyone else's rules or expectations. They were free to act, to explore, and to grow in ways the galaxy had never seen before. As the sun rose over Earth, its light shining on cities, launch pads, and distant colonies, there was a sense of quiet triumph. Humans had faced rejection, uncertainty, and the threat of isolation, and yet they were not broken. They were stronger, smarter, and more united than ever. Humanity did not wait for mercy, for negotiation, or for approval. Humanity acted, and in that action, they proved something to the galaxy. Even when banished, humans would not falter. They would rise. They would thrive. They would continue forward, driven not by fear, but by determination, ingenuity, and the unbreakable spirit that had always defined them. The galaxy had tried to push humanity aside. Humanity had responded with focus, unity, and courage. And in doing so, humans set the stage for a future that would be entirely their own, a future that no vote, no council, and no alien decree could ever control. Humans didn't wait to be told twice. They moved forward, together, ready for the challenges and opportunities that lay ahead. The moment had passed from mere reaction to action, and from that point on, humanity would never be underestimated again. Humans had made their decision. They would not wait for permission. They would not plead, and they would not hesitate. As the Council's verdict of banishment spread across the galaxy, humanity prepared for the next step, the Great Departure. Ships of all sizes were mobilized. Massive vessels, designed for exploration and transport, lined the spaceports, their hulls gleaming under the sun. Smaller craft, agile and fast, darted between the larger ships like schools of fish. Engineers and crews worked tirelessly, checking every system, running diagnostics, and ensuring that every vessel was ready to move. The energy was electric, a mixture of purpose, pride, and excitement. Humans were leaving council space, not in retreat, but in bold defiance. In the command centers on Earth, leaders coordinated the withdrawal with precision. They were aware that the council might try to block them, that alien observers might attempt interference. Every step was planned, every route calculated, every contingency considered. Yet there was no fear. There was only confidence. Humanity had faced dangers before, and they had always adapted. They would do so again. As the ships began to move, a sense of awe filled those who watched. Humans had been underestimated for so long by the galaxy. They had been seen as reckless, unpredictable, even dangerous. Yet here they were, moving as one, orchestrated and disciplined. Every maneuver, every adjustment, every calculated decision was a statement. Humanity was not afraid. Humanity would not be stopped. Colonies on distant planets received orders to secure themselves, to consolidate resources, and to prepare for independent operations. Supply chains were rerouted, communication networks strengthened and defensive, systems brought online. For the first time, humans were truly responsible for their own protection. There was no council to intervene, no allies to turn to for approval. The responsibility was immense, but humans faced it with determination rather than fear. In orbit around Earth, enormous vessels formed a coordinated fleet, their paths synchronized to leave council space smoothly and efficiently. Smaller vessels darted ahead, mapping safe routes and scouting potential obstacles. The coordination was flawless, a testament to the skill and intelligence of humanity's leaders, engineers, and crews. On Earth, citizens watched the departure unfold on massive public screens. People stood silently, some holding hands, others simply observing in awe. Children asked questions, their eyes wide with wonder. Parents explained in simple terms, telling stories of human resilience, innovation, and courage. "We are not alone," a teacher said to a group of students. "We are humans. We are strong. We are explorers. And today, we take control of our future." While humans moved their fleets, the council watched from afar. Some delegates whispered among themselves, confused and alarmed. "They are moving faster than expected," one said. "They are not panicking. They are organized," another nodded. "It seems our decision to banish them has only strengthened them. We expected fear, hesitation, but this is something else entirely." Every ship, every station, every human outpost operated with efficiency and precision. Resources were managed carefully, crews rotated to avoid fatigue, and communication channels remained clear. Humans did not act recklessly. They acted with purpose. Every action was deliberate, designed to ensure that the withdrawal would be smooth and complete. As the fleet passed through the outer edges of Council-controlled sectors, alien observers recorded the movement with a mixture of amazement and concern. They had expected humans to struggle, to falter, to beg for assistance. Instead, they saw a species capable of incredible coordination and resilience. Humans were proving that independence did not mean chaos. It could mean strength, unity, and innovation. On board the largest vessels, leaders reviewed every system, every plan, and every route. They communicated constantly with colonies, ships, and bases, ensuring that every move was synchronized. The fleet moved like a living organism, each part aware of the others, each vessel contributing to the whole. There was no confusion, no hesitation. Humanity was in complete control of its destiny. In the midst of the withdrawal, humans also began exploring. Vessels were sent to regions previously restricted by Council regulations, mapping unknown sectors and identifying potential resources. Colonies expanded, taking advantage of new freedoms to grow, innovate, and prepare for a future beyond the Council's reach. Every discovery, every innovation, became a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. Despite the scale of the operation, there was a sense of calm among humans. No one panicked, no one acted recklessly. The departure was not just about leaving Council space. It was a statement of purpose, a demonstration of humanity's ability to thrive under its own guidance. Citizens, leaders, and crews understood that they were stepping into a new era, one defined by independence, responsibility, and the opportunity to shape their own future. Messages were sent to neighboring civilizations, not as pleas for help, but as statements of intent. Humans informed them that they were moving independently, that they were capable, and that they would continue to explore and grow. There was no arrogance in these messages, only clarity and confidence. Humans were asserting their place in the galaxy, on their own terms. As the first wave of ships moved beyond Council space, colonies began to adapt to their new reality. Communication networks were adjusted, supply lines rerouted and defensive, systems enhanced. Humans were learning to operate without oversight, and they were doing so with remarkable efficiency. Every challenge became an opportunity, every obstacle a chance to innovate. Back on Earth, the reaction among citizens was a mixture of pride and anticipation. People understood that they were witnessing a pivotal moment in history. Humans had been underestimated, doubted, and dismissed by the galaxy's most powerful body. Yet here they were, moving with purpose, intelligence, and unity. The departure was more than a strategic maneuver. It was a declaration. Humanity would not be ignored, and humanity would not be controlled. As the fleet traveled further, humans also began strengthening their technology. Ships were upgraded, propulsion systems optimized, and exploration equipment enhanced. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, not under pressure, but with excitement and determination. Freedom had given them a new energy, a new drive to achieve what had once seemed impossible. Throughout the galaxy, observers began to take note. Humans were no longer the unpredictable, reckless species the Council had feared. They were disciplined, innovative, and united. The decision to banish Earth had not weakened them. It had inspired them to move faster, think smarter, and act more decisively than ever before. As the fleet reached the final edge of Council-controlled space, humans paused only briefly to assess the situation. Every system was functioning, every vessel accounted for, and every colony secure. The withdrawal had been a success, not because it was easy, but because humans had approached it with intelligence, cooperation, and determination. Leaders gathered aboard the command vessel, reviewing reports, and communicating with remaining colonies. "We have done what few believed possible," one said. "We have moved without error, without hesitation, and without fear." This is a moment to remember, a moment that defines who we are as a species. The words were echoed across the fleet, through messages sent to every colony and station. Humanity was unified in purpose, coordinated in action, and ready for whatever lay ahead. They had left council space, not as defeated members, but as independent actors, capable of shaping their own destiny. As humans moved into uncharted sectors, the sense of possibility grew. Exploration, innovation, and growth were no longer limited by council rules or oversight. Every discovery became a symbol of human potential, every success a testament to resilience and ingenuity. Citizens on distant colonies celebrated achievements. Scientists marveled at new possibilities, and leaders planned the next steps with confidence. Even in moments of quiet, there was a sense of pride. Humans knew they had accomplished something extraordinary. They had taken control of their future, faced uncertainty, and acted with unity and intelligence. The departure from council space was not just a strategic maneuver, it was a defining moment, a clear demonstration that humanity would not wait for permission, and humanity would not be underestimated. As the last ships crossed the boundary of council space, humans looked to the stars with hope, determination, and excitement. The galaxy had tried to push them aside, to limit them, and to control them. But humans had turned banishment into opportunity. They had proven that independence could be a source of strength, that unity could overcome doubt, and that determination could achieve the impossible. Humans didn't wait to be told twice. They acted. They explored. They thrived. And in doing so, they began a journey that would change their place in the galaxy forever. As humanity moved beyond the borders of the council-controlled sectors, a new reality unfolded. For the first time, humans were free to act entirely on their own, without restrictions or oversight from alien authorities. Colonies that had once operated under strict guidelines were now empowered to make their own decisions. Humans were no longer bound by rules they had never agreed to. They were now free to shape their future. The first challenge was organization. Colonies spread across multiple star systems had been connected to council networks, relying on shared resources and guidance. Now, each colony had to become self-sufficient. Human engineers and leaders quickly assessed supply levels, energy resources, and infrastructure capabilities. Systems that had once depended on external support were reconfigured to operate independently. Everyone understood that failure was not an option. Survival depended on cooperation, planning, and ingenuity. Meanwhile, new technologies were unleashed. Freed from the Council's limitations, scientists pushed boundaries that had previously been restricted. Ships were upgraded with advanced propulsion systems, allowing faster travel between distant star systems. Communication arrays were enhanced, creating a reliable network that spanned multiple light years. Energy systems were optimized, making colonies more self-sufficient and resilient. Innovation became a national and planetary priority. Exploration became a top focus. Humans launched vessels to sectors that had previously been off-limits, mapping planets, discovering new resources, and encountering phenomena no one had documented before. The excitement among crews was palpable. Every new world represented not only opportunity, but also proof that humanity could thrive independently. They were no longer limited to the familiar. The galaxy was now theirs to explore. On Earth, citizens watched with awe as reports from the colonies came in. Scientists shared images of distant planets. Engineers explained the upgrades to ships, and military officers described the strategic advantages gained through rapid adaptation. Families discussed the achievements. Children asked endless questions. And communities celebrated the fact that humanity had not only survived the Council's rejection, but was now flourishing because of it. trade networks were restructured. Where previously humans had relied on alliances with other civilizations, they now built independent trade routes. Supplies, materials, and technology moved efficiently between colonies, creating a self-sustaining network that could operate without outside interference. Businesses and industries adapted quickly, finding new ways to thrive without relying on alien markets. Defense remained a priority. While humans had no desire for war, they recognized that independence came with risk. Ships were equipped with advanced shielding, colonies fortified, and military strategies refined. The focus was not aggression, but preparedness, ensuring that humanity could protect itself and its interests no matter what challenges arose. There was a shared understanding that survival required foresight, discipline, and coordination. Cultural and educational initiatives also evolved. With freedom from council oversight, humans could now prioritize their own values and goals. Schools taught about the galaxy from a human perspective, emphasizing curiosity, resilience, and ingenuity. Art, literature, and media reflected human identity, celebrating creativity and the spirit of exploration. Every individual, from the youngest student to the oldest scientist, felt part of a shared effort that stretched across the stars. Communication with other civilizations was deliberate and confident. Humans sent messages not to ask for permission, but to inform neighbors of their new independence. These messages emphasized cooperation, honesty, and transparency, demonstrating that humanity was responsible and capable. Some aliens responded with curiosity, some with concern, and a few with admiration. Humans had proven that independence did not mean recklessness. It could mean efficiency, innovation, and reliability. In space, fleets moved with remarkable precision. Ships of varying sizes operated as one coordinated system, from the largest transport vessels to the smallest scouting crafts. Every crew member understood their role. Every maneuver was calculated. Every decision reflected human intelligence and adaptability. Observers from other civilizations could not help but notice the effectiveness of this unified approach. As colonies stabilized, humans also focused on sustainable development. Energy systems were upgraded to maximize efficiency. Waste was reduced, and resources were carefully managed. Humans understood that independence required long-term planning. Short-term gains were valuable, but survival depended on thinking ahead. Every colony became a model of balance between progress and sustainability, demonstrating that humans could thrive without guidance. Exploration yielded discoveries that fueled human ambition. New minerals, energy sources, and planets offered opportunities for growth. Some worlds were rich with resources. Others presented unique challenges that required creative solutions. Every success reinforced the belief that humanity could not only survive independently, but could also expand and prosper. Humans also began to experiment with social structures in their colonies. Freed from council mandates, they could organize communities based on efficiency, cooperation, and shared responsibility. Decision-making became decentralized, with local leaders empowered to manage resources and address problems directly. Feedback from colonies was continuous, creating a system that was adaptive and responsive. Humanity was learning how to govern itself on a scale never attempted before. Despite the excitement, humans never lost sight of the risks. Threats could come from nature, from technology, or from other civilizations. Every colony maintained defenses, emergency protocols, and contingency plans. Humans knew that independence demanded responsibility, vigilance, and courage. It was not freedom without effort. It was freedom with accountability. Back on Earth, leaders monitored progress with careful attention. Reports from colonies streamed in continuously, detailing resource management, scientific discoveries, and population growth. The scale of what humanity had achieved in such a short time was staggering. Colonies were thriving, Ships were moving efficiently, and exploration missions were producing results that surpassed expectations. Humans had transformed what could have been a crisis into a turning point for civilization. Public reaction was equally remarkable. Citizens felt connected to the larger effort, proud of achievements far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Communities celebrated advancements in science, technology, and exploration. Children dreamed of joining missions. Adults took part in planning, and families shared stories of human ingenuity. Humanity's identity was strengthened by the realization that independence did not weaken them, it empowered them. Even neighboring civilizations began to take notice. Humans were no longer a species to dismiss. Their coordination, innovation, and resilience were clear indicators that they could survive and thrive without council support. Some alien leaders began to rethink their assumptions, recognizing that humanity's independence was not a liability, but a sign of strength. Trade and communication continued to evolve. Humans established secure channels with willing civilizations, exchanging knowledge, resources, and ideas on their own terms. The focus was mutual benefit, not dependence. Humans were proving that they could create networks of cooperation while remaining autonomous. Throughout the colonies, life continued to advance. Education, research, and cultural development flourished. Humans found ways to maintain morale, encourage creativity, and foster innovation. Every individual understood their role in a larger mission, and every contribution, no matter how small, added to the success of the whole. Exploration, research, and technological advancement accelerated at an unprecedented pace. Humans were no longer restricted by council regulations, political constraints, or bureaucratic oversight. They could innovate, test, and implement new ideas rapidly. The galaxy, which had once underestimated them, was beginning to see the true potential of humanity. As months passed, the colonies became self-sustaining, and the independent network of human-controlled space expanded. Energy systems were optimized, defense systems fortified, and transportation networks refined. Humans had transformed their sudden independence into a system of growth, innovation, and security. In every colony, every ship, and every laboratory, humans were proud of what they had accomplished. They had taken a situation that could have been catastrophic and turned it into an opportunity. They had proven that independence was not a weakness, but a source of strength, and they were determined to continue building on that foundation. Even as humans advanced, they remained aware of the lessons learned from the Council's rejection. Independence required vigilance, careful planning, and constant adaptation. Every success was tempered by the understanding that the galaxy was vast, and challenges could appear at any time. Humans were prepared, capable, and united. As humans looked outward toward new worlds, new sectors, and new opportunities, there was a shared sense of purpose and pride. They had been underestimated, doubted, and dismissed. But through determination, intelligence, and cooperation, humans had not only survived, but had thrived. They had built colonies, established trade, advanced technology, and explored regions that had once been off limits. Humans were no longer just reacting to the galaxy, they were. As months passed, the consequences of humanity's independence began to ripple through the galaxy. News of Earth's withdrawal from Council-controlled space traveled quickly, and alien civilizations started to take notice. At first, the reactions were mixed. Some dismissed it, thinking humans would struggle on their own. Others, especially those who had long doubted human potential, began to feel unease. Humanity, it seemed, was not only surviving, they were thriving, on Earth and across its colonies. Humans were busy shaping a new future. Scientific research advanced faster than ever. Exploration vessels mapped unknown star systems, discovering planets rich with resources and possibilities. Engineers developed new propulsion systems that allowed ships to travel farther and faster than ever before. Energy networks were upgraded, making colonies self-sufficient and capable of sustaining growth without any external assistance. For humans, the focus was never just survival. Every decision, every plan, and every innovation was about building a civilization that could endure and expand. Colonies were not isolated outposts. They were hubs of development, learning, and collaboration. Communities communicated constantly, sharing knowledge, resources, and solutions to challenges. The human spirit of cooperation was evident in every corner of this expanding network. Meanwhile, the Council began to realize the consequences of their decision. Reports from distant observers and communications from neighboring civilizations highlighted humanity's rapid progress. The same species they had feared and then sought to banish was now advancing at a pace that none of the Council members had anticipated. Whispers filled Council chambers. "They are adapting faster than we imagined," one delegate said, his voice tinged with concern. "Their colonies are thriving. Their fleets are organized and efficient. They are no longer dependent on us in any meaningful way." Another nodded, worry evident in the shifting colors of their skin. "We underestimated them. Banishment was supposed to weaken them, not accelerate their growth." The realization began to spread like wildfire. The Council had assumed that removing humans from their system would contain their influence. Instead, it had forced humanity to innovate and collaborate in ways that the Council had never allowed. Freed from oversight and restrictions, humans had demonstrated creativity, resilience, and efficiency at levels that were truly remarkable. Back on Earth, the leaders monitored progress with pride, but also with caution. Every colony, every ship, and every operation was advancing at an unprecedented rate. Humans had to remain vigilant. The galaxy was vast, and while they had gained independence, challenges were inevitable. Potential threats could appear anywhere from natural cosmic events to alien species who might see humans as competitors or threats. Preparedness remained essential. Despite the risks, humans did not slow down. Every new star system explored revealed resources and opportunities. Colonies adapted technologies to suit their environments, learning to thrive under diverse conditions. Humans developed sustainable energy solutions, agricultural systems capable of supporting growing populations, and advanced defense mechanisms to protect against unforeseen dangers. Every advancement strengthened humanity's position and showcased their ability to manage independence responsibly. News of human achievements began to spread beyond the immediate sectors of their influence. Other civilizations, initially skeptical of Earth's capabilities, started to reconsider their assumptions. Messages were sent, not of submission or plea, but of acknowledgement. Humans were establishing themselves as a serious, capable, and independent civilization. The galaxy was beginning to recognize that the Council's decision to banish Earth might have been a critical mistake. Observations from alien envoys revealed more. Humans were not only advancing technologically, but also socially and culturally. Communities across colonies maintained stability and order while encouraging creativity and innovation. Leadership structures were efficient, yet adaptable, giving colonies the flexibility to respond to local conditions without compromising the overall system. Humans had created a network that was strong, resilient, and remarkably efficient. Inside the Council, anxiety grew. "They are thriving without our guidance," one delegate said. "Our vote was meant to isolate them, to limit their influence, but instead it has given them freedom. We have made a mistake." Another replied quietly, "It is too late to reverse it. They will not come back to us willingly. They have discovered that independence is strength, not weakness." Human leaders, aware of the Council's observation, but not relying on it, continued to focus on progress. Diplomatic messages were sent selectively, emphasizing collaboration without dependence. Humans offered assistance where it made sense, and engaged in trade when mutually beneficial. Every interaction reinforced the idea that humanity was capable, responsible, and independent. Colonies flourished. Education systems expanded, teaching young humans about science, exploration, history, and culture. Children were encouraged to participate in research, exploration, and problem solving. Every generation was being prepared to think critically, innovate, and lead. Humans understood that the success of independence depended on nurturing talent, creativity, and resilience across all levels of society. Exploration teams reported discoveries that excited both scientists and ordinary citizens. Planets rich in minerals, energy sources, and unique flora and fauna became potential new colonies. Some worlds presented challenges, requiring creative engineering and problem-solving to make them habitable. Humans approached each situation methodically, testing solutions, learning from failures, and improving strategies. Trade networks expanded as well, but differently than before. Humans prioritized self-reliance while maintaining connections with civilizations willing to engage on fair terms. Trade was no longer about dependency. It was about opportunity. Resources, knowledge, and technology moved efficiently across human-controlled space. Strengthening independence while fostering collaboration were beneficial. Even military operations were transformed. Ships were equipped not just for defense, but for rapid response to any potential threats. Crews were trained rigorously, focusing on strategy, coordination, and adaptability. Humans understood that true strength was not in aggression, but in preparedness, intelligence, and the ability to act decisively when needed. In homes and public spaces across Earth, citizens followed developments closely. Families discussed reports from colonies and exploration missions. Teachers brought news into classrooms, and children dreamed of joining the expanding fleet of explorers. There was a sense of shared pride and purpose that permeated society. Humans were witnessing firsthand the results of their unity, creativity, and determination. The Council, increasingly alarmed, began to debate what could be done. "We intended to sideline them," a delegate said. "We never expected such rapid progress. We underestimated their resilience and ingenuity. What can be done now?" The room was filled with uneasy silence. Even those who had voted to banish Earth began to fear that they had unleashed a force they could no longer control. Meanwhile, humans continued their advancement. Colonies became self-sustaining, fleets were stronger and more coordinated, and exploration missions pushed further into unknown space. Every success reinforced the idea that humans could thrive without oversight, that independence could be a source of power rather than weakness. Scientists shared their discoveries widely within the human network, ensuring that knowledge gained in one colony benefited all others. Engineers implemented new technologies rapidly, and strategic planners adjusted operations to maximize efficiency. Humans worked not for recognition, not for approval, but for progress itself. The galaxy might have doubted them, but humanity's focus was on action, not argument. In conversations across the galaxy, other civilizations began to whisper about Earth. "They are advancing faster than we predicted," some said. "They are organized, disciplined, and innovative. Perhaps we misjudged them." Some aliens who had once feared humans for their unpredictability now observed with respect. The very action meant to isolate and weaken humanity had produced a civilization that was more capable than ever. Back on Earth, leaders reflected on the transformation. Humanity had not just survived banishment. They had used it as an opportunity to grow stronger. Colonies were independent, yet connected. Fleets were powerful, yet flexible, and exploration was advancing rapidly. Humans were proving that independence could be a source of strength and innovation. The Council continued to debate, but decisions were slow and uncertain. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for resilience and ingenuity. The more they watched, the more they realized that the banishment had accelerated human development rather than limiting it. Every new report from human colonies was a reminder that the Council's action had unintended consequences. For humans, the lesson was simple. Independence was not a challenge to fear, but an opportunity to seize. Every innovation, every discovery, every successful operation was proof of what could be achieved when humans acted freely, cooperatively, and decisively. The galaxy might have intended to punish them, but humans had turned banishment into progress. As humans looked toward the future, there was a quiet confidence. Colonies continued to expand, fleets grew more capable, and exploration pushed the boundaries of K. After months of preparation, adaptation, and expansion, humanity had fully embraced its independence. Colonies across distant star systems were thriving. Fleets of ships moved with precision, and exploration missions were uncovering new worlds and resources at a pace no one in the galaxy had expected. Humans were no longer the species under observation. They were a civilization operating on their own terms, confident, united, and unstoppable. On Earth, leaders gathered in the Central Command Center, reviewing reports from colonies and fleets. Every message brought news of progress planets successfully terraformed, new energy sources discovered, trade routes efficiently maintained, and fleets conducting long-range explorations. There was a shared sense of pride in what humanity had achieved. They had turned the Council's rejection into an opportunity for growth, innovation, and unity. Every colony had developed its own local leadership while remaining connected to Earth through a sophisticated communication network. Humans had proven that self-governance and cooperation could coexist on an interstellar scale. Education, science, and culture flourished simultaneously. Communities were inventive, adaptable, and resilient. The human spirit, once doubted by the galaxy, was now evident in every decision, every innovation, and every exploration mission. The Council continued to watch, increasingly aware of their miscalculation. Their attempt to banish humanity had not weakened them, it had accelerated their development. Ships were more advanced, colonies more organized, and humans themselves more confident and capable than ever. The Council's delegates whispered among themselves, trying to understand how a species they had dismissed could progress so rapidly without their oversight. Meanwhile, humans focused on the next stage of their journey. Exploration was expanding beyond previously known sectors. Teams of scientists and engineers were sent to investigate uncharted star systems, documenting resources, ecosystems, and potential habitable worlds. Every mission was meticulously planned, ensuring maximum efficiency and safety. Humans were building knowledge faster than anyone had anticipated, preparing for a future where they could thrive independently on a galactic scale. Technology continued to advance at an extraordinary pace. Ships were upgraded with faster-than-ever propulsion systems. Energy networks were optimized for sustainability, and colonies were equipped with advanced defense mechanisms to protect against unforeseen threats. Humans understood that independence came with responsibility, and they embraced it fully. Every achievement was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Trade and resource networks had matured. Humans were capable of sustaining colonies without relying on external civilizations, but they also engaged in fair trade where beneficial. These exchanges strengthened humanity's influence and demonstrated that independence did not mean isolation. Humans were proving that they could thrive while interacting respectfully with other species, forging a reputation for reliability and innovation. The success of humanity's colonies sent ripples across the galaxy. Observers from other civilizations began to recognize the scope of human progress. Where once humans were underestimated, now they were respected, even cautiously admired. The speed of their advancement and the efficiency of their operations challenged long-held assumptions about what humanity was capable of. Humanity's military also reflected this growth. Ships were strategically positioned to defend colonies and trade routes, but humans remained non-aggressive unless threatened. The focus was on preparedness, coordination, and rapid response. Humans had learned that true power came from capability, not confrontation, and their military reflected that philosophy. On Earth, citizens celebrated the achievements of their species. Public broadcasts showcased discoveries, technological advancements, and successful exploration missions. Families discussed news from colonies. Children dreamed of participating in exploration, and communities shared in the pride of being part of a civilization that had thrived despite rejection. Humanity's identity was strengthened by these accomplishments. Exploration. Missions yielded remarkable discoveries. Planets with rich mineral deposits, rare energy sources, and unique ecosystems became new opportunities for colonies. Some worlds required creative engineering to inhabit safely, and humans approached each challenge with determination and skill. Every success reinforced the idea that humanity was capable of thriving anywhere in the humming galaxy. Education and culture also evolved. Children learned about human history, science, and exploration, while adults contributed to the development of colonies and fleets. Art, music, and literature celebrated human achievement and resilience, reflecting a species proud of its independence and capabilities. Every individual, from the youngest student to the most experienced scientist, understood their role in humanity's ongoing journey. Communication across colonies was seamless. Humans maintained coordination while respecting local autonomy. Decisions were made collectively when necessary, but colonies could also act independently to respond to immediate challenges. This balance of independence and cooperation became one of humanity's greatest strengths. Despite these advancements, humans remained vigilant. They understood that independence carried risks. Threats could appear from natural events, technological failures, or other civilizations. Every colony maintained defenses, contingency plans, and emergency protocols. Humans had learned that freedom without preparation could be dangerous, and they approached their independence with both optimism and responsibility. As humans expanded further into the galaxy, the Council could no longer ignore them. Delegates convened in urgent meetings, debating what to do. The species they had tried to sideline had become stronger, more capable, and more organized than they could have imagined. The realization dawned slowly. Humanity's rejection had inadvertently created a civilization that could not be controlled or contained. Humans, aware of the Council's observation, did not seek confrontation. Instead, they continued to focus on exploration, innovation, and progress. Every action was deliberate, every decision purposeful. Humans were demonstrating that independence was not only possible, but also sustainable. Their growth was a testament to resilience, intelligence, and unity. Colonies became hubs of advancement. Scientists shared discoveries, engineers implemented new technologies, and communities adapted quickly to new challenges. Every innovation, every successful mission reinforced humanity's capability to thrive without oversight. The galaxy was witnessing a civilization that had turned banishment into empowerment, challenge into opportunity. In conversations among neighboring civilizations, humans became recognized as a serious and capable species. The fear and skepticism that had once dominated discussions about Earth were replaced by respect and cautious admiration. Humanity's independence was now seen as a model for how a species could organize, innovate, and thrive without relying on external authority. The final step in humanity's journey toward full independence was symbolic as well as practical. Leaders coordinated a massive fleet exercise, demonstrating the coordination, capability, and unity of human forces across multiple star systems. Ships of all sizes moved in perfect synchronization. Colonies communicated flawlessly, and resources were deployed efficiently. The galaxy could see that humanity was not only independent, but also capable of maintaining stability and security on an unprecedented scale. The exercise was also a message. Humans did not seek permission. They did not wait for approval, and they would not be underestimated. They were capable of defending themselves, exploring freely, and thriving wherever they chose. Independence had become humanity's greatest strength, and they wielded it responsibly, confidently, and intelligently. Citizens on Earth and across the colonies celebrated the culmination of their efforts. Achievements were shared, innovations were highlighted, and communities reflected on how far humanity had come. From surviving the Council's rejection to thriving independently, humans had demonstrated resilience, ingenuity, and the ability to overcome challenges collectively. The galaxy, in turn, had no choice but to take notice. Where once humans were feared for unpredictability and doubted for inexperience, they were now respected for capability, intelligence, and resilience. The Council's attempt to banish Earth had failed, not because humanity had fought them, but because humanity had acted, learned, and grown. Humans had turned rejection into opportunity, banishment into progress, and challenge into a platform for innovation. Every colony, every ship, and every technological advancement was proof that humanity's independence was not a temporary achievement. It was permanent, sustainable, and formidable. By the end of this period, humanity had transformed. Colonies were thriving, exploration was accelerating, and technological advancement was at an all-time high. Humans had proven that they could govern themselves, defend themselves, and innovate beyond expectations. They were no longer just survivors. They were leaders in their own right. And in this moment, humanity looked outward, ready for the next chapter. The galaxy had tried to sideline Earth, but humans had used the challenge to unite, innovate, and expand. Independence had become a declaration of capability, resilience, and determination. Humans didn't wait to be told twice. They acted. They thrived. They had secured their place among the stars on their